Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Athletes United. I'm your host, Big Mel, with the co-host and the athlete. We need to make a special distinction. We're not talking about just some athlete. We're not talking about a garden variety athlete. We're not talking about your run-of-the-mill athlete. We're talking about the athlete, Bobby Joe Reed. Huh? Everybody give it out.
We are here today. We missed you last Friday. Everything you went at, we let everybody know you were doing your extracurricular activity jobs in Dallas, Texas. But I'm glad to have you back here.
Thank you.
As the host.
All right. Well, we have with us today a very distinct young professional. I'd like to introduce her. Her name is Dr. Latronica Fisher. She's from the interdisciplinary world of wellness, healing, therapies around health. And we're celebrating Men's Health Month in the month of June.
Yes.
And so it's apropos that we have her with us this morning. And everybody, welcome Dr. Fisher to this program.
Welcome. Yes. And you know what they say? She looked good, too.
She looked good.
You guys are kind.
Thank you.
We're proud to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Have a question off the top. And I think we alluded to this earlier prior to the show. The term wellness. Could you define that for us a little bit and give us some indication of how we know when we've arrived?
All righty, that's a great question and requires a very broad answer. So when we think about wellness, we live in a world that's big on tertiary wellness, right?
Okay, that's another word I don't understand.
It just basically means in layman's terms that we focus on our health when it becomes a problem.
I see.
But what we really are shifting and we really want to get in the idea of thinking about is how do we become totally well, without having to deal with any type of sickness? Because the Bible says that we can live to be 120 years old with all our faculties in place. Being able to see and hear and walk and function, that's the goal. So when we think about wellness, from my perspective as an alternative wellness practitioner, our job is to optimize your health and not just normalize your health.
I see.
Okay. And so wellness is optimizing your health, which means we got to go a little bit beyond and be what we naturally know to do.
I see.
Okay, so doctor, so real quickly for all our listeners and viewers, right now we're talking about inside the health. Not come out looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger or bodybuilders, able to run and be the next Olympic champion in the 100 meter. And also we're talking about building your body up to be strong.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that will hurt. And the how to explain, what is the discipline? How does one get into the discipline of wellness?
That is such a wonderful question. A very powerful question.
Yes, ma'am.
Because that's what I do every day is coach people on discipline. That it is an art. It truly is an art, and it's a journey. It's not a destination. It's a journey.
Okay, that
you don't
makes sense.
just wake up and decide, I'm going to be disciplined today. Why? Because you're going to go down the street and you're going to see that sign, that donut sign flashing hot. You're going to see the new burger joint that just moved in, and guess what kicks in? Your saliva glands, right?
I resemble that statement, all right? I need you to know that.
Yes.
Or you have this, even as an adult, you resort back to when you were 10 years old, 6 o'clock in the morning, something gotta hurt, because I ain't going to school today. Come on.
Yes.
Something, find me something.
Absolutely.
So that's the discipline.
So there is the discipline to be well is totally a mindset.
Okay.
It is a mindset. So what I teach my clients is our mind is the king of our castle.
Okay.
And if you can get the mindset focused, which means that you have to close your eyes with all these things going on around us, which I'm sure we will get into later. In this environment, there is so much noise and so many distractions in our environment.
Yes.
Discipline requires you to be able to quiet those things around you and to focus on what you know is going to bring you wellness on a level that the masses will never experience.
So can I be honest and say this? You remember? Let's go back in the '60s with the Beatles. The Beatles, when they got involved with the yoga master and all from John Lennon and all
Yes.
from India. Also, we saw this new dashiki Nehru shirts, and everybody,
Namaste.
yeah, just more relaxed, think about instead of the physical. Could you explain that, please?
So that's the mind, body, and wellness part. So
Okay.
you're talking about like meditating,
Yes.
and yoga, and now more and more people are becoming very aware of those being a part of essential mindset and wellness, because that's what we need in order for us to quiet our mind. You could actually become well by just quieting your mind and meditating for, maybe just 5 or 10 minutes a couple times a day. And so those things were prevalent then, and they're extremely critical now.
Mel, real quick,
Yes, sir.
give us the number to our listeners, viewers, if they have a question. What is our number they can
If
call?
they have a question, you have to see on the board our number here is 1540 AM Houston 101.7 FM. The phone number is, and I'm gonna,
Where's our phone?
we've lost our phone.
We lost our phone number,
We
man.
have a new call-in number today. Do we have a new call-in number today?
Oh, we got Edge Radio.
We'll bring that new number.
We'll get that number for
We're
everybody.
on Edge Radio, 1540 AM Houston and 101.7 Houston.
Yes.
Dr. Fisher, another question for you, please. You mentioned optimizing health and this kind of thing. So normal isn't optimal. Is that what you're telling us?
That's absolutely what I'm saying to you.
all right.
Because we're all walking around normal, right? And you know
Okay.
what our normal is? We all have a problem. Right? We all have a health problem.
Wait a minute.
We
What
all-
was the thing that you used to say? She got it from her mama.
Yeah. We all are. Someone's on medications. Someone's mentally ill. Someone's physically ill.
Sure.
Do you see what I'm saying? That's considered normal now.
Uh-huh.
If someone tell you don't have any problems, you're like, okay, something wrong with this
Something wrong
brother.
with
Something
that.
wrong with this sister. Nowadays, our normal is everybody have something going on. Somebody's had surgery. Somebody's prescribed medicine. Somebody's not mentally well. They're depressed. Everyone has something going on. But there is actually a such thing as called epigenetics. Epigenetics means that you go far beyond what is needed to be well. So these are your people who live to be in their 90s and in their 100s
gonna write this
because
word down.
they understand what it takes in order to be well. And it goes far beyond what we know. That's reading, that's educating yourself, that's seeking out the help. You can't, it's not enough to just hear things. You actually have to take action.
There you go.
You have to take action in order to totally be well.
So wellness is a verb in
Yes.
many respects.
That's great. I love that. It's true.
Do something.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, let me ask this, doctor. Do you have male patients? And if you do, what's the difference from a male patient to a female patient? How do you project or just say, this is what we're going to do for you that is different from the female patient?
So the nice thing about the female patients is they are so much more proactive than the male patient.
Okay.
So I'm glad you guys are doing this show because men really need your cohesiveness. They need to know that you guys are here, and they need to know that yes, we do care about men's health. I think it's very important. So what you're doing is very inspirational because, as women, we naturally talk to each other, right?
Yes.
We socialize. We go to different functions and events, and we talk about what needs to be done. We talk about where we're distressed. But men don't do that. Men just kind of follow us, right?
Yeah.
They just follow us, and they sit over in the corner.
Yes.
So they miss out on all the juice.
Yes.
Yeah.
They miss out on all of it. And it's not until that wife or that significant other say, honey, you need to go to the doctor. And most of them will tell me, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong. And then when you sit and you talk to them, like the other day, I did a consultation with a male prostate cancer. Okay, he comes in, he starts talking, and he has the extra padding in the midsection. So I asked him, I say, it takes about 10 years for cancer to evolve. Okay, 10 years. So he said, I usually don't eat that bad, so I don't understand where this problem came from. So I touched his stomach. I said, you're in denial. See? So men have a tendency to not see the realistic perspective or aspect of what their health really is. And so for that reason, they tend to be more quiet and reserved about their health. They feel like if they can earn money and bring income into the house and they can still move around, they're healthy.
Yeah. Well, my wife would tell you my wellness is that if I come in and I sit down and I'm just looking, she just hands me the remote control. Don't worry about what she been walking. Here, go ahead, Rob. You got it now. We good to go.
You're well.
I'm in charge now. There's a team.
It's 8 minutes after the hour. Once again, we're here with Dr. Fisher from the Road to Wellness Center. And we're going to get that URL from you before we leave today, Doctor. But what you're telling us is that when a man tells you he's all right, he's not all right.
He's not. They're usually not all right because, like I said, the only time most men come in is because their significant others or spouses told them. And the only time they really will make a change is if they are faced with a life-threatening illness. And that's really unfortunate about men. And when I was at the a training last week, there was a guy that I spoke to, and he didn't realize that depression was a real thing.
Yes.
And so for that reason, he found out that his testosterone levels was low because he was depressed.
Okay.
And had gone through life changes. Men, you go through changes. You go through divorce. You go through losing a loved one. You go through changes just like we do as women. But as women, we get on the phone and talk to each other. Men suffer in silence.
It's true.
And that's why what you're doing and what you're expressing to men, I think, is important because they need to have that support. I had one client who was going to start a suicide support group. I was shocked that he even would think about committing suicide. This is a young brother, good looking. He was training me on how to use firearms and all these things. So you think this is a tough guy.
Yeah, why would he?
But for him to come to me months later and say he was starting a suicide support group because he has moments that he wants to commit suicide and he's in his early 40s. I said, wow.
And you would think that, let's be honest, a young black man at 40, you still look and say, I still have more footsteps to walk.
Yes.
I still got something that I haven't completed yet. But when you get to that point, say, hey, that's it. I don't know if I can do anymore. That is frightening.
Yeah.
And then with that,
and children too. Children and family depending on you and want you to be there for them, to see them walk their journey out in life, to even think about removing yourself from their lives permanently.
Yeah. I mean, this is, let me ask you this: with this pandemic that's going on, with the Black Lives Matter that's going on, do you feel this will increase what people are feeling like what's going on that is really affecting them, even though they're not involved with it, but they're seeing it? And it's just like this: you in a club and you by the speaker, boom, 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 that's hitting them.
Right.
How would you say to them what's happening to adjust them to?
Well, I would say that what is happening is we've been waiting on this for a long time. Okay. That's the simplest way to put it, is that what is happening needs to happen. It's like a bittersweet situation. Okay. Because the bitter part is that a lot of people are facing unemployment, which certainly is going to increase the depression.
Oh, for sure.
It's going to increase, suicidal thoughts. It's going to increase domestic violence in the home, because now you have people that are unemployed and we have to deal with each other now, right?
You got to.
Now we have to deal with each other, whereas we have the opportunity to go to work and get away for at least 8 hours.
Yeah, at least.
Now we actually have to be in each other's space, and we're financially destroyed.
Come on.
That is so
that's
part
something
is
we never
increase.
expected.
No. But the freedom and the awareness and the voice is the positive aspect that's going to come out of all of this. Now, the goal is that a lot of times what we have to do is tap into the strength that we were born with.
Okay.
We were born naturally strong. We really are. And so the thing is, our ancestors had to be strong. So that just kind of trickled down to us to be mentally and physically strong. And so what I encourage, the listeners to do is to really dig down deep and understand that there's usually always a little pain with transition. But we are certainly moving forward. And that's what we want in the economy and in our culture. We want to be able to move forward so that we can have more and better opportunities in our community.
Okay. Now, let me, Doc, real quick, remember, with the COVID-19, how would you be able to speak to a lady patient, a male patient that I just tested positive now? I don't know. I tested positive, but I'm not there yet. But I got to go through isolation. I got to quarantine.
Yes.
How would that relate to the wellness program?
So to my wellness program, there are certain things that everyone needs to take to optimize their health. And that is where we are right now. Everyone should be taking antioxidants, things to help scavenge free radicals. Everyone should be walking and getting sun. The sun is basically the doctor in the sky. So getting sun about 30, 40 minutes a day, drinking plenty of water, and then just taking things to help boost your immunity. So there are multiple things that can be done in order to optimize their immune system. And that's how you combat COVID-19.
There you go.
Interesting.
All right. All right.
Doc, you mentioned testosterone as a hormone that dissipates over time.
Yes.
Is there a therapy of some kind that can address this? And I'm talking about minimally invasive.
Right.
Serious surgery.
So the biggest thing with hormones that I have discovered here in the last few years, which I think is amazing, we generally think once that our hormones starts to decline with age, but now we're seeing more and more younger people with the decline in their hormones. And you know why, right? Stress runs you through those hormones. Children run you through those hormones
Trust me.
at an accelerated rate. Processed foods. Okay, we are eating more processed foods than we ate 30 years ago. We don't have a choice because that's what we're exposed to unless you really get outside the box and you do a little extra movement around to get the food that you need. And that's something that we may talk about later because I think it's very important. You have to get outside the box if you want to optimize your wellness. So there are things, our lifestyle is what causes our hormones to decline rapidly. I had a client yesterday that I was consulting with who does have cancer, and I just mentioned, I said, your hormone levels and your stress levels are through the roof.
My God.
And I understand that, everything is being done to try to resolve that, but if we're giving hormones and you're stressed, you're just running right through them. So some of the things that we always suggest is that there are different approaches for helping to rejuvenate the hormones. There's creams, there's supplemental nutritional capsules, and then there's also something a little bit more invasive, which is more of a pellet therapy.
I see.
Those are the different things. So if someone is really suicidal, or someone is just really stressed, or they're going through a lot of changes and they don't know how to resolve them, then that's why we have different levels to provide therapy to those clients to help to optimize their hormones, because the hormones affect your metabolism, it affects brain health, it affects your heart, right?
Yes.
It affects your just your overall well-being. So hormone therapy is very important. That's what we are. We are all hormone receptors.
I see.
So how do you, let me put it, we know I can go to the doctor and he can see, hook me up to the machine, EKG. Hook me up with everything else to see. So how are you able to, in your program, wellness program, to see who's high on hormones? Is it a shot, take blood or whatnot?
So there's a couple ways that we assess, and you're asking how do we know if the hormones are imbalanced?
Yes.
Basically what we do is I have an energetic test that I use. It tells me how I'm able to assess what's going on. And the way this test works is it's not invasive, and the reason I love it so much because men don't like being picked and probed on. So we clearly know don't go picking and probing on men, or they probably won't come back, or it'll be far and few between. So I love the technique I use, which I use a Quest machine. It's an energetic test. And it'll test the prostate and the hormones. So I like that for my men because we do have a huge epidemic of prostate problems with our men.
Yes.
So we have to make sure once you get over 40, you are taking something to nurture that prostate. That is a must. So what we do is we have our guys come in, they sit in a chair, and all they do is hold a little gadget. It's a little gadget in the hand. The gadget picks up the cells of the body, and it scans your body from head to toe. And it tells me everything that's imbalanced about your body. And then we customize a program to begin to balance the body.
Wow.
Then the second option is that we give the clients a hormone test, which means it's a saliva hormone test kit. We give it to them, they take it home, and all they do is pull saliva into a little vacutainer.
Yes.
And they ship it, go to UPS, ship it off, and then in 3 days they'll send us the results, and then we're able to see what the levels are. And then thirdly, which is the most invasive, you get a needle prick in the arm, they draw blood,
Oh God.
put it in a vacutainer, and then send it to a lab.
Wait a minute. I have to stop you right there because from when my knee surgeries or when I had to go get shots, my wife has to be there and hold me and say, "Don't look, baby. Just don't look." So we done made it to the first part of talking to me, but come the needle, if she's not in the room, it's not gonna happen.
That's right. That's why I love what I do, because when the men come to you, they like, "Oh, that's all." Oh yeah, we make it easy for our men.
Okay.
That's fantastic.
Yes, indeed.
It's
We make it
19 minutes after the hour. We're going to take a brief break, but come on back with Dr. Fisher and Athletes United on Edge Radio, where truth matters. We'll be right back.
This is former Rocket Robert Reed.
Right there,
No
because
Drew of Athletes United.
And we want to talk to you about a new program,
or when I had to
podcast.
go get
We're talking about
shots,
former
my
athletes
wife
who are
has to
doing
be
a lot
there
of things
and
in the
hold me and say, "Don't look."
Various athletes and various swimming,
So
track,
we
soccer,
made it to the
football,
first part of
baseball.
talking to me, but
Former
come the needle,
and
she's not in the room,
current athletes.
it's not gonna happen.
That's why I love what I do, because when the men come to you, they like, "Oh,
That
that's
which
all."
makes us
Okay.
successful.
We make it easy for our men.
Edge Radio. Truth still matters.
Yes, indeed.
It's 19 minutes after the hour. We're going to take a brief break, but come on back with Dr. Fisher and Athletes United on Edge Radio, where truth matters. We'll be right back.
This is former Robert Reed.
Right there,
No Drew of Athletes United.
And we want to talk to you about a new program,
Edge Radio is for everyone.
former athletes who are doing a lot of things.
Various athletes and various swimming,
we
track,
done made it to the first part of talking to me, but come
Former
the needle,
and
she's not in the room,
current athletes.
it's not gonna happen.
That's why I love what I do, because when the men come to you, they like, "Oh,
that which makes us successful.
we make it easy for our
Edge
men."
Radio is about
Edge Radio. Truth still matters.
各位观众 ，Edge Radio 是大家最好听的一个电台，不要忘记听哦。Yeah, I love Edge Radio. All about the topic. And join us.
Edge is about being on the edge of much. Edge
This is
Radio
former
Network.
Robert Reed.
Right there.
No Drew of Athletes
When people stop talking to each other, when society is on the edge,
Edge Radio is for
let's bring
everyone.
it back
Former
to Edge
athletes who
Radio,
are doing a lot
because
of
truth still matters.
various athletes and various
Listen to Edge Radio. That'll push you over the top. 1540 AM, 101.7 FM.
That's why I love what I do, because when the men come to you, they like, "Oh,
that which makes us successful.
we make it easy for our
Edge
men."
Radio is about
Edge Radio. Truth still matters.
各位观众 ，Edge Radio 是大家最好听的一个电台，不要忘记听哦。Yeah, I love Edge Radio. All about the topic.
Discover
Join us.
low-cost life
Edge is
insurance for as
about
little as
being on
$2
the
per month.
edge.
Add to that a tax
This is former Robert Reed.
Right there.
No Drew of Athletes
When people stop talking to each other, Society is on the edge. Let's bring it back to Edge Radio, because truth still matters. Listen to Edge Radio. That'll push you over the top. 1540 AM, 101.7
哎，各位观众，哎，Radio 是大家最好听的一个电台调换频道。I love Radio. All about topics.
Edge is about
66%. Add to that a tax
This is from Robert
When people stop talking to each other,
And we're back. Once again, I'm Big Mel, co-hosting with the athlete, Bobby Joe Reedy.
Hello.
And we're speaking with a doctor of wellness, Dr. LaTonya Fisher. I'm proud to have her this morning because not only are we observing men's health in the month of June, but we happen to be broadcasting today on a date that's relatively peculiar to Texans called Juneteenth.
Juneteenth.
And relative to that, Doctor, how, if you will, does what you do play into something like an observation of Juneteenth freedom? We're talking about liberation of people. We're talking about the exercise of their own destinies, etc. How does that play into health, wellness? Is there a historical connection of some sort?
I think you just said it perfectly when you said liberation. So remember what I said earlier, the mind is the most powerful thing we have.
Yes, ma'am.
So if we can get the mind well, we can get the rest of the body well. So if we have a feeling of liberation, we have a feeling of knowing that we can march forward and we can exercise freedom to run businesses, take care of our families,
Yes.
Care for our loved ones. That is mental wellness. And so knowing that this is another day that marks years later, that now we have the ability to move forward. I know there's still work to be done, but we're certainly not where we have come from. We certainly have to
Very
move
much so.
forward and continue to just express those ideas like we're doing collectively as a group and as a team. But having that freedom to be able to think freely and to be able to act freely, I think is so important.
By all means. Black men as a subset have a historical issue with blood pressure, high blood pressure, which leads to any other number of conditions. Doctor, where did that come from? And is that some historical context to, enslavement and or genetic abuse over many
It's an
people?
enslaved mentality is what it is.
I see.
It's an enslaved
That's heavy.
mentality. That's why I'm so glad that we continue to uplift our community, because all these things that, our parents have dealt with down the line, we have the ability to change all of that. The thing is that the only reason why you capture the same genetic predisposition as your loved one is because you do the same thing, right? You walk the same walk, you talk the same talk, you eat the same food.
I see.
You travel the same path. So you have to do something differently. So if you are consuming salt and, you know, eating certain processed foods, stopping at every, you know, restaurant on the corner, and that's how you spend your day and that's how you get your nutrition, then you're technically you're going to be predisposed to high blood pressure. So we have to start thinking about what we're doing and how we're getting our nutrition.
Well, you know, the thing that always amazes me, Don, is let's take Chicago, Illinois, blacks. Let's take Houston, Texas, Montgomery, Alabama, South. Let's take New York City, blacks. That's East Coast. Now let's go to LA, blacks, West Coast. We still got our collard greens, fatback, oxtails, chitlins, whereas the other minorities is you don't see the cheeseheads in Minnesota and all eating what the white people eat in Georgia and whatnot. New York, ox, you know, the how do you say, the cheese, bagels and all. LA, it's all different food. So what's the difference that with us as black folks? I know I can go and find me a soul food restaurant anywhere I go, but the people from the north, east, and west, they can't find the restaurant that they've been looking from where they're from. So how does that relate to what we're saying with the wellness of the minority men?
Access, which is basically what you just said, access. When I travel to other countries, I'm always so excited when I go to a country who really, really advocate wellness, which means that on the corners you see fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
Versus a lot of restaurants that have fried food. And I remember asking the lady, I said, you know, you guys have a McDonald's here and you have a Kentucky Fried Chicken, but when I walk by there, there's nobody in there. I said, back at home, there's a line wrapped around the corner. She said, yes, but we don't go in there because it's expensive. So what I learned was they make healthy food extremely affordable and they make unhealthy food extremely expensive.
Yes.
In other countries. And so the difference is that they have the concept right to teach and educate people about what we should be eating and what we should be eating sparingly. So we cook a lot of our foods with fat. And the thing is, and a lot of that is because that's what we were exposed to and that's what we were privy to once we served who needed to be served during mealtime. So because we understood that tastes good and it was good, we continue to do it. I make collard greens, but I don't put bacon fat in it and I don't put grease and oils in it. I sprinkle a little bit of applewood smoked salt in there. I saute, onions and garlic and bell pepper, and I give it that flavor that way. You don't have to add oil to it. So that's the difference between how we cook then and how we should be cooking now.
Well, I could say it real quickly. You remember how, since we're going to this pandemic, you remember how we used to go on the cruises to the different islands? Well, my wife and I, once we got there, even when we went on vacation and we were going to an island, let me tell you what we did. We just went out front, got a cab driver, said, here's $100, show us the sights, then come lunchtime, take us to the best mom and pop's restaurant. We're not going to eat in a hotel. We want to eat what the natives had, and it was good. He ate with us, and then he got an extra 100 afterwards. Well, so that's why I can understand. If I'm going somewhere, I want to eat as home folks do.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
The musician Ramsey Lewis used to call it cornbread, hog maw, and chili beans.
But the chitlins, I couldn't get past the chitlin smell. I couldn't get past it.
I couldn't either. And for the holidays, my family still cook it, but I don't eat it. Because you're right. They're the intestines of the pig's belly.
Yeah. So I know what you don't even go no further. It's like as we say the two words from Smokey and the Bandit. honey hush.
Gotcha.
So we have to take more accountability for our own health, is what I'm
Right.
hearing you say.
Right.
Well, let me ask you this, doctor. Get us into something else here. Estrogen. Well, I guess it's a woman's hormone typically, and it's always associated with women. But is there some therapeutic value to men? Can estrogen be a therapeutic value to men?
In many cases, it's not, but there are a few cases it is beneficial because it helps to protect their heart. So keep in mind, remember, men already make estrogen.
I didn't know that.
Yes, men already naturally has estrogen. And the one time that they actually start getting more estrogen is when they get older, right? Because testosterone has taken a nosedive, estrogen levels are spiking. So this is where when women will say to you, honey, what are you crying about that for? What are you complaining about that for? Why are you fussing about that?
A TV
It's
program.
like a woman would be doing, right? Like a woman. So when your man starts acting like a woman, something's wrong. Because men don't typically do that. Men usually are, they are usually pretty much, they have it together, and men tend to be more competitive in the world. They don't tend to complain and fuss about things, but when they sit on the couch and all they want to do is watch TV, have a beer or a glass of wine, and they don't do anything else but get ready for the next day, the testosterone levels have gone down and the estrogen levels have gone up. So it is good for men to have some estrogen, but not too much.
So
But
if I start crying when I see kittens on the TV,
Yeah.
Well, to put it this way, let's go back 10, 20 years when estrogen was not in it is when we all saw the movie Old Yeller. When Old Yeller died, we all cried for Old Yeller. Estrogen didn't have nothing to do with that. We cried when Old Yeller died.
That's one movie 20 years ago, but if you're doing it every day,
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. If you got to do it every day, if you see somebody going across the street and they drop their hat, oh, she dropped her hat. You need to go check. That's where we need to go check yourself in.
we got a problem.
Those whiny type of things, that's when usually most men over 50, their testosterone levels, actually in their 40s, their late 40s, their testosterone levels will start declining.
Okay.
And the estrogen levels will start rising.
Oh boy.
There is a natural therapeutic value of estrogen because it's very cardiac protected and it's brain protected. And so the thing is, you need to have a certain small amount, but not to where it's overbearing the testosterone.
Now, how would you tell a gentleman, like we said earlier, a male patient who's trying to feel this, what would you say to him?
So I would just ask him to allow me to get his levels so we can see exactly what his hormone levels are exhibiting. And then the nice thing about getting those levels is that you actually can show him what's going on. Because, sometimes men will just think something's wrong with me, something's not working properly or something's off. So if you can show them, look, this is what's going on with you, it gives them some understanding. And it also gives credibility. And then they'll work with you as a team to start to correct
Open
those.
up.
Yes.
Now, I'm gonna be honest. How do you, as a doctor, you got the gentleman come in. Let's be honest. Most men, let's go back to George Jefferson, Archie Bunker. I ain't got no problem. Okay, hey, look at me. I ain't got. So how can you able to break a gentleman down to say, look, just relax? How would you do that?
I actually don't. I don't, because of the simple fact that people will partake in things when they're ready. Okay. And I can honestly tell you, a lot of times when the men come in with their wives and their treatment, eventually the men will start to come. You know why? Because they will start having their own problems.
Okay.
Because they've chosen to do nothing for years. And then they eventually, but you can't make somebody want to be well. Why? Because most of the time, money's an issue. They feel like there's nothing wrong. They feel like, hey, I'm walking, I'm talking, I'm working, I'm perfectly fine. They have no idea what's brewing in their body. They have no idea. But For men, you have to kind of you have to be gentle with them. It's just a gentle nudge. And so that's what's so nice when the wives bring them with them. They usually sit in the waiting area, or they may come into a session, and then eventually it may be a month later, a year later, but they eventually say, you know what, Doc, I'm having some little pain over here. I'd like to. So men, they like kids. You have to show them first, and then eventually they come along.
She just calls us kids, Bob Joe. I want you to
I know that. I know that.
She got that in very under.
You know what she reminds me of? You remember the first time we went to the principal's office because we got disciplined, and he would just look at us and say, okay, tell me what happened. And that's it. Then you start talking. He ain't saying nothing. You still talking. The whole thing just, I did it. You know, you got that look. You just break down.
I love it. I love it. Well, tell me this, doctor. What are specific threats to having low testosterone? I mean, is there something peculiar we should be aware of?
Yeah.
What are the results?
The number one right now is prostate.
Prostate.
That's the number one threat to being deficient in hormones is prostate cancer. So that's why I always tell my guys, I said, if I could just get men in their late 30s, that would be so wonderful to really, really understand what happens when your prostate swells. The prostate is swelling because the testosterone levels are starting to decline. So if we can get guys on some soft palmetto once they get in their late 30s, I really think that we can prevent a lot of the prostate cancer issues that we're having. And so, of course, with hormones, prostate is going to be an issue. The second thing is with deficiency in testosterone, they tend to have issues with dementia, Alzheimer's.
Interesting.
Yeah, you start to forgetting things. So when you start forgetting things, or your blood pressure's running up, or your vision becomes a problem, then you want to have your hormone levels checked. Because remember, our whole body, we are a walking hormone.
We're walking home.
We are a walking hormone. And when your hormones start declining, the rest of the body is going to follow.
Okay.
I want our male listeners to pay attention to this. This is some visionary
we're
information.
both getting educated.
Absolutely.
Sitting
Because I
here.
think men can be anything. Because y'all are very simple creatures.
Wait
You really are.
Bobby Joe.
You really are.
Let me see. Here we
You're
go.
really simple.
Here we go. I got a 1. No, we talking the digital phone.
Yes.
1. 3.
Yes. Well, that's something.
4. I know your number.
Yes.
But Doc, real quick, I've heard Mel and I would talk about nutraceutical. They're called peptides. Can you enlighten us what this is?
So basically what nutraceutical peptide therapy is, it's a different type of therapy. If someone does not qualify for hormone therapy, or they prefer not to, at the time, peptide therapy is another alternative therapy that you can administer that can help get rid of visceral fat. It helps to get with inflammation. It also helps when people want to improve their memory, they want more energy. And so peptide therapy is another therapy that is available. So there's so many different options for getting well. There's no reason why people, wouldn't want to do things to get well. So that's just another different option for alternative to hormone therapy.
Interesting. It's 40 minutes after the hour. We're here with Dr. Fisher of the Road to Wellness Center. Our calling number is 281-587-1540. Dr. Conversely, we're talking about estrogen in men. Conversely, is there a therapeutic application for testosterone in women?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
How about
so
that?
in women, we naturally have testosterone as well.
You do?
Absolutely. Our testosterone is what allows us to be competitive, want to compete in the world. So you know how they be like, she act like she wears pants in the house. So testosterone is working. It's up there. Or a woman say, I have little facial hairs, or they have to get certain things on their face waxed or pull little hair. Testosterone is working. Okay?
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
So testosterone is very important for women because, like I said, that's what really keeps us energized, keeps us moving, keeps us wanting to be intimate. Because without much testosterone, we have very low libido.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that we have that testosterone on board because it makes a difference with us, with our overall wellness as well with our families. If your significant other walks around moody and with an attitude all the time, something's wrong with her testosterone.
No, that's
when you say fix her and send her back.
No, that's when you go to the other room.
No, you fix it. You don't send her to the other room. You tell her to go have her hormones checked because you love her and she loves
There
you.
you
That's not the person you married. Her hormones have been adjusted.
No,
So you have her to go get those adjusted so that you can get the wife back that loved you years ago.
That's
right?
brilliant. I'd love to.
Now, let me ask you this,
Love
Doc, real quickly. You know, with AA counseling, with substance abuse counseling, with what we're saying now, is this still one-on-one or not the general that folks will come in and say, I had this or I had that they will open up to others who are going through the same thing? So basically, do you have joint meetings or still one-on-one?
With
What we're saying with the testosterones, with the men and all, you know.
Oh, there is one-on-one.
There we go. That's what I'm saying.
It's one-on.
Asking.
Everybody's individualized.
Okay.
And so we have to look at each individual and determine what everyone needs based on what their levels are.
Okay.
So yeah, there's no
Group there-
no
no.
testosterone anonymous
Oh,
group that everybody say my testosterone is low and this is what I've done.
My name is Big Mel. I don't have any testosterone.
you can see it flowing out their ears.
Listen.
Hey, Jamel, we doing this. We're sitting there. Well,
I don't want to catch it.
My wife is kicking me out the house. I'm on
can't
the
touch
couch
it. You
now.
can't touch this.
That's outrageous.
All right.
That is outrageous. You mentioned visceral fat.
Yes.
Is that a natural outgrowth of a hormone deficiency? I mean,
Oh, absolutely, with men and women, and that's usually the first thing with women we tend to get it all over, but men tend to get it in the midsection.
Right in the midsection.
So as I was telling you with the guy who came in, the other day, and he had been diagnosed with prostate cancer, and he said I eat healthy, but his stomach's sitting out here, and he says I eat healthy, I don't really eat bad, I don't understand how I got this problem. Well, two things. So your testosterone levels are really low. And secondly, you're eating something because if you're not eating anything, your stomach don't protrude. You don't get the extra padding in the midsection if you're not eating anything.
I see.
So there's a combination of both. So, you always want to look at your midsection because you have some guys that are skinny as all get out, right? Just skinny and thin, but they still have that padding in the midsection, right? So those are the signs for men. They're classic signs for men that their testosterone levels have gone down. Because testosterone helps to move the extra midsection from the middle of the abdomen.
So it's sort of telling the brain to burn or something like that?
Yeah,
or-
it's a communication. And so when you have the communication taking place in the body can be well. If there's no communication, then the body is just doing what comes next.
Okay. Well, Doc, we've been talking. I know without a doubt we have listeners and we got viewers, and we're gonna mention it in. But for right now, let our listeners and viewers know where you're located and your website, and then we will mention again at the end of the show.
Wonderful. Thank you. I don't mind sharing that information. So I'm Dr. Fisher, Road to Wellness. That's Dr. Fisher, Road, 2, Wellness. And I'm located right in the heart of the Galleria area. I'm off 610 in San Felipe. The website is drfisherroadtowellness.com. If you want to send us an email, it's drfisherroadtowellness@gmail.com. And our phone number, and we have, 2 assistants there always answering the phone. If you have questions, you can always schedule a free 15-minute phone consult about anything that we talked about. If you want to know information about your hormones or some issues you may be experiencing you want to talk about privately, we do free phone consults, and you can call us at 713-520-8188.
Say that again.
Again,
Say it again.
713 520-8188 for your free phone consult.
And who are the two assistants? So let's
Brenda
plug
and
them
Dana,
up.
and happy birthday, Dana.
It's Dana's
We're gonna
birthday?
be celebrating her birthday at 12 o'clock.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Dana.
Yes.
All right then. That's a winner. That's a winner.
It's 46 minutes after hour. We're here on the Edge Radio where truth matters, and we're Athletes United where leadership is our DNA. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
All right.
Edge Radio Network, where we have conscious conversation.
Edge is about love, relationships, and healing.
Edge Radio is for everyone and about everyone.
520
Edge is about working together.
Say that again.
Edge Radio
Say it
is
again.
about recreating a beautiful body.
Edge is about community, synergy,
And
and
who are the two
empowerment.
assistants? So let's
Brenda
plug
and
them
Dana,
up.
and happy
about
birthday,
being
Dana.
It's Dana's
We're gonna
birthday?
be celebrating her birthday at 12 o'clock.
Edge Radio.
Happy birthday, Dana. All right then. That's a winner. That's a
嘿，
winner.
各位观众，Edge Radio 是大家最好听的一个电台，不要忘记听哦。Yeah, I love Edge Radio. You can hear all about the topic. Join us.
Short break.
Edge is about being on the edge and not jumping.
Edge Radio Network, where we have conscious conversation.
Edge is about love,
Are you a small business owner concerned about
Edge Radio is for everyone and about everyone.
Top business leaders like Mattress Mac and Warren Buffett
Say that
will
again.
tell you that now is the time to promote your business more than ever. People need
Edge
your
is about community,
services.
synergy,
Your
and
business
empowerment.
needs an edge.
Plug them up.
Learn about special advertising platforms for small business owners right here on Edge
Edge
Radio.
Radio.
To find out more, give us a
All
call
right
at
then. That's a winner.
281-7.
嘿，各位观众，Edge Radio 是大家最好听的一个电台，不要忘记听哦。Yeah, I love Edge Radio. You can hear all about the topic. Join us.
Short break.
Edge is about being on
This
the
is former
edge
Robert
and not
Reed,
Edge Radio Network.
No, do it up.
We have conscious
and we want to talk to you of our new program and podcast. We're talking about former athletes who are doing a lot of things in
We're back.
Hello.
Once again, I'm Big Mel, co-hosting with the athlete, Bobby Joe Reed, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give it up one more time for her.
Let me say, I'm not in the house. I'm in Houston.
There you go. There you go.
Old school.
I like that.
And we're with Dr. Wellness, Dr. Latronica Fisher. We entered the last segment talking about estrogen hormones, various, and testosterone, if you will. I want to know, I'm very curious about this, how a body manufactures fat and you're not necessarily eating that much, or you're not, as a result of having low hormones, your body's creating unnecessary fat. Is it because our foodstuffs are going to the wrong place or not?
Well, no, it's because your metabolism has slowed down.
Okay.
So remember, at 20, you ate whatever you wanted, and you
just
still
burned it off.
Burned it off,
Just
right?
burned it
Because your
off.
metabolism was still up, your testosterone is up, your thyroid levels are working properly. But as we get older, so remember, our bodies stop manufacturing as rapidly as they did when we were in our 20s.
I see.
So that's why it's so important that, as we get older, I tell people anyone over 40 should be taking something for digestion. That's our number one product that we promote with our clients, because of the simple fact that when you're not digesting properly, the food is just sitting there. And when you don't have enough nutraceuticals in the abdomen to move food through, then now you have the extra padding, and you have the hormone decline, and the thyroid function are declining. So the way you rev that metabolism up is you do have to get some nutraceuticals into the body. You have to, because our food here is so devitalized and so demineralized. The soil doesn't have vitamins in it anymore. It doesn't have minerals in it anymore. So we have to make sure that we're doing that.
So vitamin D, thyroid medicines.
Which is the iodine, basically.
Iodine,
We
yes.
don't say medicine because we discourage any of our community being on synthetic drugs. So
There you go.
we try to avoid medicine. We try to encourage them to start with nutraceutical supplements, which promotes the iodine uptake, which promotes, nutrition into the body uptake. Those are the things we want to do
There you go.
help people to be
Very
well.
good.
All right.
Doctor, give us your contact information again.
Please.
That number is 713-520-8188. Again, that number for your free phone consult is 713-520-8188.
And your URL is?
It's Dr. Fisher Road, the number 2 wellness.com.
Fantastic. We've enjoyed talking with Dr.
We
Fisher
have
here
had
today.
a great time. Thank you for this Friday.
Absolutely.
Now I'm more strong ready for the weekend.
Yes.
Okay, because now Father's Day is Sunday.
Yes, indeed.
And if I don't get what I want for my kids, I got to.
I'm Big Mel with co-host The Athlete Bobby Joe Reed.
All right now.
Thank you for this day. We're off. This is Edge Radio, where truth matters.
Truth matters.
See you next time.
Awesome.